Hello everyone, RJ Kenny here at Link, here today to talk to you about widgets. Widgets are really just a simple passive adapter that allows you to send a bunch of different kinds of signals like analog audio, AES digital audio, DMX lighting, clearcom, other sorts of serial, and sometimes these things mix together down your existing Cat5, Cat6, Cat7, and even Cat8 cables to allow you to use that cable for the most number of uses possible. Link is one of the original manufacturers, if not one of the first, to use this idea for sending audio signals down a Cat6 cable. One of the earliest examples where we did this was to create break-ins and breakouts for going in and out of the JBL VDrive system. What that was is it allowed you to have 2 lines of AES audio along with 100 megabit Ethernet for controlling the amplifiers, jump from rack to rack to rack just using a Cat6 cable for all of those signals. Since then, we've come up with a number of different variations of these things. The original version were these sort of barrel-based breakouts where you could take whatever existing EtherCon RJ45 cable you had, plug it into one end, and you'd get your 4 XLRs, either 3-pin or 5-pin, depending on what you were doing. And you could just plug one of these into both sides of your cables, and before you knew it, you had a 4-channel snake wherever you needed it. In addition to the barrel break-in, break-out version, we also have these inline versions, which have a male either RJ45 or EtherCon on one end to the XLRs on the other. And what this is really great for is, say you've got a theater that has a Cat6 dry line running from stage left to stage right. You can plug one of these in on each side and you've got a snake instantly. So the question everyone asks us about widgets is, what about interference? I'm putting up to 4 different signals down this single cable and there isn't a shield on the individual pairs. Well, we don't really have to worry about that for 2 reasons. First off is because mic signals, AES digital audio, DMX, and other serial control are all going to be a balanced signal. So the electronics on either end are going to get rid of any interference that's caused within the cable. And then secondly, the twists inside the cable are at different lengths on each of the pairs, which reduces the amount of interference between them as well. Next, we have our PCB-based widgets, which are simply just a 3-pin or 5-pin XLR pre-terminated onto a PCB with an RJ45 jack. And what that really allows you to do is build up a custom panel with just simple patch cables running between the PCBs or to a set of tails like this. And what's really great about these things is it allows you to, without complicated field termination, start to build up panels like this, which has 8 inputs, 4 outputs. On the back, we just got a little 1-foot patch cord connecting them to these EtherCons. So now, using a Cat6 cable and let's say one of these widgets in a stage box remotely, I've got a real simple, easy to make 4-channel subsnake. Finally, with PCB widgets, we have started to do multi-pin styles. First, we've got these DB25 versions, which simply take your 8 channels of audio, come out the 2 RJ45s, both Tascam and Yamaha pin-up versions. So again, I can just really simply take a patch cable, plug into one of these, plug into one of these panel mounts or one of these tails, and break out my processors. We do now also have an LK series of widgets. So we've got the LK13 through the 85, and it's just the multi-pin on one side, and then on the back, RJ45, so I can simply patch this into any of these panel mount XLRs, a set of these tails, or even in an install. Now I don't have to send a field tech out with a crimp kit or worst yet, a soldering iron. All they have to do is plug an RJ45 into the back of this, and my custom panel in the theater is already terminated. Additionally, for the PCB-based widgets, we do also have standardized panels for these. Rack panels, UCP panels, and even install panels, pre-punched that have these connector layouts on them. This 1U panel here being a good example of that, where I can just load this up with whatever I need and send it on its way. It is important to point out that the pinouts on these things do matter, and luckily there are 2 different standards that kind of help us figure that out. First, on the lighting side, as of ESTA standard E111 2008, it's the DMX standard, they did put a provision in there now for the use of modular plugs for DMX with Cat6 cable. What's great about it is DMX will actually go further down a Cat6 cable than it will standard DMX cable. Same's true of digital audio, actually. But in the case of the ESTA standard, they're still really only allowing one 5-pin connector to be terminated with an RJ45 so that you get both data pairs terminated, as well as not relying on the cable shield to get you your pin 1. Likewise, on the audio side of things, the Audio Engineers Society last year ratified AES 72, which has to do with the pinout of audio going down modular plugs and quad twisted pair cable. There were really too many pinouts out in the world when we were putting this together, so it has less to do with saying one of them is correct versus being able to identify different kinds of gear that'll work with each other. In the case of Link, we use AES 72 Type 1M. And lucky for those of us here in the US, most of the other manufacturers, really with the exception of one, all use the same pinout. So this is just important to know when you're plugging in different pieces of equipment that look like they should be compatible between manufacturers, that you know which ones will and will not work with each other. So that's a good intro into what widgets are and how to use them. We'll have some additional information in the description as well as on our website. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment or shoot us an email or a phone call. We'd be happy to help. Thanks a lot for listening today, and we'll see you next time.